Right, and we are underway for practice number 1 here at the Phoenix Raceway. It is the second round of the championship. Green lights on. Let's go straight over to our commentary team.
500, and boy, Davey, I'm thrilled for these hardy race fans that have stuck around. The grandstands really started to fill in wonderfully.
Yeah, and let me tell you, the energy's high. These driver announcements, I'm listening to the cheers for the drivers. You know which ones are the favorites. You know which ones they don't know that well. We know the rookie on the schedule. Obviously, they're you know, I already run the first one coming into Phoenix. You know, I have some guys that are really good on ovals. Obviously, Malukas, he loves the ovals. We see VK, he's very fast on the ovals. We see some guys that kind of shine on these ovals. Obviously, Newgarden was on a streak there a few years ago on winning a lot of the ovals. But don't count out Palou here either, because he could get done on the ovals as well. I think this is the closest you can get for an oval, being a little bit of a road course with this dog leg in the back straightaway. It's very challenging. It's very fast. But, you know, I expect him to be fast here as well.
Just a handful of drivers have experience here at Phoenix Raceway. Sorry, got rid of the internationals. Phoenix Raceway, and we're excited to be here. Lots to tell you about this facility. Our first look at it in a number of years, Davey.
Well, I love being here. Obviously, this is one of my favorite tracks, one that started it all for me, being able to win 5 Copper Classics at this facility and really give me the, you know, the springboard to get into INDYCAR racing. So love being back here. I think it's great that we're joining NASCAR as well. I mean, the people are here. There's excitement in the air. Their campers are out. I mean, I think it's going to be a super great weekend, not just for all of us racers to be able to tie the two top level motorsports series in the United States together, but all these fans being able to see both series at one event.
It's a beautiful morning here in Phoenix. Let's find out more, see what our pit reporters will be up to throughout the course of this session. Let's welcome in Alex Wolf.
Well, Mark Janes, good morning to you and good morning to everybody listening here on the INDYCAR radio. And a beautiful day, like you said, picturesque to say the least. You got here as the sun was coming up. The mountains in the background makes for fantastic scenery. The air temperature is 60 degrees, track temperature is 63. So it's a cool morning here in the desert, but things should be heating up literally and figuratively when we get into this practice session, looking towards a qualifying later today.
Obligatory install laps get things started. So, Davey, I know this place is very near and dear to you. Doesn't look a lot like the place that you raced at once upon a time. But, boy, what a fabulous job they've done. And, of course, everything looks brand spanking new, even though this configuration has been in place for a number of years now.
It has. They changed track configuration slightly down the back straightaway in the dogleg as we talked. But one thing they've done, the start-finish line used to be, which is now the back straightaway, going down into what we used to call turn 1, which is now turn 3. But one thing that we always ran into problems at this racetrack back in the day is when the sun went to set, it was directly in your eyes going down that front straightaway. Well, now with these beautiful grandstands, the suite above, the corner, you know, we're down in the corner with all this. It blocks that sun from all these drivers. The garage area and the infield's been completely revamped. I mean, absolutely outstanding job they've done. Spent a lot of money here to make a good motorhome parking all the way around this place. But we still have the iconic hill down off turn 1 and 2 now. More back in the day, remember the Indians and their horses used to go on top of that thing, watch the races for free up on top there. It was always a sight to see. So as we talked about it, picturesque, beautiful racetrack, and it's great to be back.
I sure enjoyed the elevator ride up to the booth more than climbing the grandstands.
Yeah, remember the real old ones. Yeah, it was a grandstands and a small ladder and a teeny little booth. And so, no, I mean, they've done an absolutely fantastic job keeping this facility, you know, A-class. And so right now it's great. First time I've seen cars on track. I mean, we got one up to speed right now. Looks like Graham, I think, on track right now. It's going to get a little. We absolutely have the best view of the house. We're high above start-finish line. Can see this entire facility very easily. But you can remember these cars are going to run here nearly 200 miles an hour. So it's a little hard to keep track who's who until we get used to it.
Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, Graham Rahal, and Alexander Rossi, the drivers who have competed here previously. Scott Dixon with the win here. Joseph Newgarden won back in 2018 after starting 7th. And so a clean sheet of paper typically going into a race weekend at a place where we haven't raced in quite some time, but pretty significant test here a couple of weeks ago that went well for a number of drivers, especially Alexander Rossi.
Yeah, matter of fact, the Ed Carpenter ECR team in general. I mean, P1 and 2 with Rasmussen in second. Another guy really good on the ovals. Remember cleaning house at Milwaukee, getting his first win on that 1 mile over there. Another guy to keep an eye out for. But what a great time to unload, to be fast at a track we haven't been to for a long time for ECR for sure.
Any concerns at all about grip levels this early in the day and not having a lot of laps turned on this track yet?
Yeah, I think, they had ARCA West here last night, so there's a bit of rubber on the track. Could be a little bit different from their Goodyear rubber to our Firestone rubber. But yeah, there's some shadows on the racetrack still right now. It is cool. I think downforce-wise, you're looking really good with this cool air, but grip level of the track, I think it needs to get a little more heat in it right now. And this is a track that is very, very tricky. This 1 mile tri-oval, or I call it a tri-oval, but with the dog, we call it a dog leg in the back, or the front straightaway now. It could bite you, and I've seen it for years and years and years. When I first tested INDYCAR here, we were sub 19 seconds back in those days, so you're really cooking around here fast. And but yeah, take it easy, don't take it all at once, take advantage of this practice session, but just one step at a time. Don't go over the limit for sure.
Back to the pits.
Hey, Mark and Davey, DJ here, and just wanted to bring up a little bit of an update that I've been able to catch up with this morning about those alternate different types of rubber that we're going to see on the track. Not going to be a big of a storyline in this opening practice session, but watch into qualifying and into the race tomorrow with that other type of rubber, the way it's going to interact with the Firestones. Leading conventional thinking down on pit lane is that the early running, we may see the different rubber kind of fleck up a little bit and peel up off the track, actually making the track more green as cars come along. Then the Firestone rubber will get put down and the track will rubber up in a traditional sense. So going to be a little bit interesting to see how that plays, but I did have a couple of team members tell me this morning that's what we think is going to happen. Ultimately, we're not sure.
Yeah, that's like I said, even with the test, it's a clean sheet of paper because you've got the variable thrown in there with the other forms of rubber.
Yeah, and right now these drivers are taking the test. They were in the 22nd bracket. They're in the 22-second bracket right now. So they're all just kind of getting a feel for their cars, seeing what that rubber is that DJ just talked about, obviously because ARCA West was out there. The track from here looks really good. It doesn't look like an excessive amount of rubbers down on the racetrack. It is, when you're going fast and you're in that line, it is kind of a one-line track to be, you're going to take one groove around here to be really fast. So I expect that groove to come in fairly rapidly. One thing that they are doing here, as they do at a lot of ovals for us, is they're going to do that outside running, which means they're going to run a second groove and try to get rubber down that second groove, so when it comes race time, it'll be a little bit racier. Now, one thing about it is, when you have faster cars and slower cars, which this track seems to really separate them out. If your car's not good here, man, you cannot keep speed up. It's really hard to keep up pace. And the guys that are really good are going to be really, catching even a second a lap, and you go around here in 20 laps, you're going to be getting lap traffic. So I expect to see a lot of traffic out on this racetrack. I expect to see a lot of overtaking. I think it's going to be a great race tomorrow. It's during the afternoon. Sun's going to be out and looks to be perfect conditions.
Lots of characteristics about this D-shaped tri-oval, that among them the fact that the turns 3 and 4 are banked at 11 degrees, turns 1 and 2 at 9 degrees, but that 9 degrees of banking runs all along the backstretch as well.
Yeah, that's right. And that 9 degrees, and when you're on this racetrack, even though turns 3 and 4 have more banking to them, it's a little bit tighter down there. You have to lift just somewhat. Now, in qualifying, I do feel these good drivers are going to be able to get around here wide open. 3 and 4, though, with the less banking, that's an easier corner to go through wide open because it's so much more round. There's a lot more distance from the entry to the exit of that corner, and so your input of the steering wheel is not near as much as it is down here, especially in turn 3. So it's going to be, like I say, this track, it just is so unique. It has a lot of character, more so than most tracks in this country. Obviously, when you win at places, you love it, but I have to say, you go down through this pit area and you talk to these drivers that haven't won or haven't been here much, they're going to say, hey, it's got a lot of character and I'm having a lot of fun out there.
Lots of shifting, lots of braking here.
Yeah, not much braking at all. But shifting, yeah, I could see, once especially race time comes, they're going to be able to do a little bit of shifting. I think in qualifying, not so much. I think the situation is where you're going to pretty close to be wide open around here. There may be a small gear split between like 5th and 6th that if they lose a little momentum, they could downshift just one gear, but not a lot here.
Because of the abrupt change at the apex of that first turn, which you get to, by the way, pretty quickly once you cross the start-finish line, there is a very generous apron, obviously, to drivers left. But I would imagine that transition, it's going to be a pretty good idea to stay either on that white line or just above it.
Yeah, we see that's one thing that's really changed with this facility is once they paved that used to be just dirt and cactus, and the dogleg was actually a little farther down towards turn 1 that they call it.
Used to be where you can get into the racetrack.
Yeah, that's where you used to come in. That's exactly right, Mark. There used to be open. That's how there was no tunnels here that you just crossed the track right there. But like I know in NASCAR, that's all free lane. You could go all the way down to the very bottom. You can be 5-6 wide down below that line where that dogleg is. In our cars, I think they're going to make us stay above it. I mean, maybe you allowed a couple wheels below that white line, but I highly doubt that because there is a bit of a transition. As you know, our cars don't take transitions quite as well as others because we're so dependent on the underwings of these cars, and the ride heights are so critical. So that's one area that you're really going through there fast. Matter of fact, I look at these times, and it's impressive. I mean, when I look, I go, man, they're going fast around here, but they're really not yet. They're still in that 20. They got that 21.0. Yeah, so now they are. McLaughlin, he's a 21.0 right now. Renus VK, we talked about him being good on ovals, 21.3. What a great job he's doing in that Uncos Ultra Racing team. I mean, he wasn't announced till late, very late to be into that car actually. But he was able to make all the testing. He found a nice home there. He's been there before in other divisions, but right now looking good. How about this? Siegel, another driver of that Arrow McLaren team. He's P3 right now, who really needs a good season, Mark. I mean, he's struggled last year. Doesn't really show a lot of speed yet this year. He needs to have some results this year for sure.
McLaughlin pedaling it just a little bit faster. He just turned the clock at 172.453 miles per hour. Rest of the field is in the high 160 range, 168.702 for Renus VK. Nolan Siegel at a 168.332, 167 plus for Louis Foster. Dennis Hauger in the top 5 at a 167.337 between he and his teammate Romain Grosjean. Pretty good weekend in St. Petersburg.
Oh, what a story that is, really, with Delcoin Racing. Both those drivers, one rookie, one veteran, but the veteran set out last year, didn't have a ride, wasn't able to get any lap time at all, but boy, they both came into the series that first race very strong, not only for just the race, but that entire weekend did a really, really good job. And then the results, they just kept going all day. I think Hauger, honestly, he had a bit of a bad pit stop. I think there could have been a chance for either him, especially being in the top 5, but even Grosjean had a little bit of a slow exit out of the pits. And when you potentially put yourself in a top 5 position in any of these races, you know what that means, Mark? That means you could win as well. So hats off to that entire team. They're working really hard. Obviously, they got some good engineering over there. They got some great drivers. And Hauger, as a rookie, his first time, I mean, when you walk away with a top 10 finish, you're pretty happy.
Yeah, preseason oftentimes, even though they do a lot of work on it for those pit crews, so maybe not ideal but understandable how there might have been a bobble or two. I want to look at the rest of the rundown, the official rundown, we should say, from St. Petersburg. Below P1, McLaughlin, Lundgaard, Kirkwood, and O'Ward, the top 5. Nice rebound from Marcus Erics. You talk about a bobble in the pits, maybe ill-timed pit strategy bringing him to the pit lane could have maybe resulted in a podium finish for him.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, that's part of the game, right? Our strategy, when the yellows come out, when they don't, when you come in the pits. Matter of fact, you look at like Scott Dixon, put himself in a really good position, had a wheel come off. How often do we see that? So you see some really stout teams that had some opportunities to win, and McLaughlin being one of them, just how he lost so much ground in the pits. I'm not really sure. I need to study that just a little bit. But, that team of Ganassi with Palou, they just didn't put one thing wrong, and that allowed them to have a nice lead when that thing finished.
We talked about Dennis Hauger in his top 10 finish, and you look at the bottom of the results from last weekend. Struggles for both Will Power, Scott Dixon, and also Santino Ferrucci, Mick Schumacher. Their days ended early on an opening lap crash in which they were collected by Stingray Rob.
Yeah, we'll start with that one. Is what a bummer. First lap, Stingray took all the heat. I mean, he knew he did bad. He just went in way too low in turn 4. It seemed like he lifted early and got on the brakes early, but they just not had heat in him, and he just went. He was going to hit the wall regardless. Unfortunately, it took 2 guys with him, and that's Ferrucci and Schumacher. So ended their day on that first corner, third to fourth turn. And Will Power. Let's talk about him a minute. I mean, obviously been with Penske for so long. It's hard to remember that he's not in that Verizon Penske Chevrolet and now with TWG with the Andretti group. But I have to say, he had 2 wall incidents, one in practice, one in the race, and both situations were his mile per hour was way down when he got in the braking zone getting into 10. Both of them happened in 10. His left front tire locked up. I mean, he wasn't even going fast, locked up. When that happens, it just, messes your entire corner up. He unfortunately hit the wall both times. And they said they found something mechanical from the first one, and then they came out the race and said, well, we found it, but we thought we fixed it, but obviously we did not fix that mechanical issue. So they had some gremlins in that car. Hopefully they get that figured out. We know that Kirkwood, his teammate, did have a top 5 finish as well. So not great, not where he wanted to be, but it seemed like that maybe they still searching for some gremlins and some speed out of that Andretti group.
Graham Rahal has jumped to P1 at a 172.563. McLaughlin 172.4. Pillow is at 172.1. Santino Ferrucci at 171.725. Kyle Kirkwood at 171.216. Power is 6th fastest. He's yet to crack 170. Then Grosjean, Ericsson, VK, Armstrong, Siegel, Foster, Hauger. Then Collette, Simpson, Robb, Lundgaard, and Rasmussen. So that's some of the numbers for you early on. And as we mentioned, Graham Rahal at 172.563. So what's the order of the day here? I'm assuming the practice session later this afternoon before the Highline practice session will be simply working on the race car setup. Are we looking at qualifying sims here? Is that the whole goal?
Yeah, I think, after they tested here last week, they have a lot of information. So I would have to say yes, because qualifying is very important, and you want to have a good qualifying sim, because I think track positions very important when this race starts. But the race is more important. All the laps that you have to take to get a good balance of your car for long runs, and I expect to see that in every session. Actually, his Power, he just moved to P1 in just those few laps. So seems like they found whatever they were looking for there as far as speed goes, but Power just shooting P1 right now. So obviously he was looking for some qualifying speed right there, making sure that car's got good balance. But like I say, this track is so, you want to be on the pole, because it is an advantage. Trust me, I know. If you can get out front, clean air, this is the place to be here.
Well, and I would think that the desire to get here after St. Petersburg, 2 schools of thought here. I mean, if you're Pillow, McLaughlin, Lundgaard, Kirkwood, momentum's on your side. You want to get to the next race as quickly as you possibly can. And conversely, if you're Ferrucci, Dixon, Power, some of those guys who finished at the bottom last week, you want to get here and put the memories of that one behind you.
Boy, yeah, that's nail on the head right there, because of hammer on the nail head, because that is a situation where you're only as good as your last race, and that's what you think about all the time, what happened in the race, the last race. And no better timing than coming the very next weekend here to Phoenix International or Phoenix Raceway, and being able to start completely over, especially on, back on an oval, is a completely different environment.
Alex Wolf.
Down here in the Alex Palou pit, and a great chance to catch up with the former driver, Howdy Holmes. And Howdy, the last couple of years, it's been great to see you. Great to see Jiffy Mixes on the Chip Ganassi racing machines. Just to, first off, tell us about the relationship that you and the Chip have had through the years, because it goes back to the on-track days.
Well, yeah, we used to be competitors together, and, in 1984, Chip had that horrible accident at Michigan International Speedway. And he was airlifted to the U of M hospital. And I'm from Ann Arbor, so I went down there and tried to help out Chip and his father, Floyd, with doctors and things like that. So that was kind of the situation that, created a friendship that was much deeper than just competitive drivers. And it's been that way ever since. And I've transitioned from running the family business for 36 years and came back to racing because I'm passionate about it, trying to help Chip and the rest of the guys. And it doesn't hurt to have Jiffy Mix on the car at all.
Oh, absolutely. I know a favorite on the kitchens everywhere across the country, and great to see them involved with that. And I know for you some memories. I know different configurations here at Phoenix, but what are some memories that you have from driving here?
Alex, I don't believe this place. I'm driving down the street that leads in here. I see this big facility. That can't be the Speedway. I mean, when last time I was here was 1984. And there was no city. This was out in the middle of nowhere. We've done a heck of a job, and it's interesting that 30 years or more can kind of go by in an instant, and you can be surprised by things. This is an unbelievable facility, and the town's right up next to it. So I guess that's progress, right?
Oh, absolutely. And lastly, we see your involvement with Chip Ganassi Racing. You know a thing or two about running at a high level here, Rookie of the Year at Indianapolis, front row in 1984 as a teammate to Tom Sneva. We're standing in Alex Pallou's pit. Just tell us about, as a competitor that knows what it takes to see domination like this.
Well, Alex and the Ganassi team have just set a standard that is unbelievable. And, of course, it makes everybody happy. I think some competitors would like to see it a little bit differently, but you got to give them credit for the record. Last year, unbelievable. Started out this year and just dominant. So it's pretty easy to be a cheerleader for a Ganassi team when you've got three very capable drivers.
Well, Howdy, it's great to see you here at the track as always, and thanks for everything you've done to contribute not only to racing but to business, and we wish you good luck to the whole Ganassi crew.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good stuff, Alex Wolf, and great to hear from legends like Howdy Holmes and Davey. Caution on the course, a single car incident involving Felix Rosenqvist.
Yeah, that's what, one thing we talked about down in turns 1 and 2, and I'm going to try and keep it straight because that's been 3 and 4 all my entire career. Now it's 1 and 2 down there, but coming on, and we talked about how big and how fast that corner is and how it's easier to get through there wide open than the other ones. But one thing, the consequences, you can get through, and the exit is very tight. It comes off, and there's a bit of a transition between where you come off onto pit lane and the racetrack, and it looked like potentially Alex got those tires just a little bit too low, may have hit that transition, Felix, and spun around and got into that wall really hard. That's a high rate of speed. I have to say I've probably seen more incidents coming off that corner than any other one on this racetrack.
So, again, caution on the course right now. Single car incident involving Felix Rosenqvist, and we'll see if we can't get someone back to medical. I'm sure he's headed there for the look-see, and we'll hopefully get a word from Felix. And bottom line, Davey, with a single practice session, that's made a long day for him.
Yeah, long day, and that's, when we talked about that, any oval that you hit on, it's usually not just easy, and that was a definitely, he turned around 180, got in that wall, and pretty much, backwards and tore that car up really, really bad. So they're going to have a lot of work to do just to get that car ready today, much less get it ready for qualifying.
Now, prior to that, Will Power had turned the fastest lap at 172.746. Graham Rahal at a 172.563. Scott McLaughlin at a 172.453. Alex Palou, 172.196. Scott Dixon at a 171.788. Santino Ferrucci at a 171.725. Kyle Kirkwood at a 171.216. And let's see, 170.816. Eighth fastest is Marcus Armstrong. And Davey, the clock's ticking, just 35 minutes remaining in this session.
Yeah, it goes by very quickly, and that's, they're starting to get rubber down. The heat's starting to come up a little bit. Still early, still a lot to learn of these race cars. I know probably the balance change between their testing and today is probably quite a bit different. You got to remember they got some rain back when they did some testing here. It was very cold as well, so our cars are very temperature sensitive. So there's still a lot to learn, but obviously some of them came out of the box looking pretty good.
Your thoughts and impressions of the unique configuration of this pit lane?
Well, it's just different. I think it's long, and I'll tell you, I don't think we have bigger pit spots for these teams and drivers anywhere on the entire series, including the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A lot of room to get in, a lot of room to get out. Should be very good for all these teams. You got to remember, too, you go a couple laps down here if you pit under green. It's a long pit lane, and the longer our pit boxes are, the more so it makes that. So when it comes race time, green flag stops. Boy, you better hope you're not caught in that on that pit lane, because you can go a couple laps down fairly rapidly.
Alex Palou with he and David Malukas have two of the more optimal pit boxes. I mean, Palou is pitted at a point to where it's kind of like the apex of the turn, but he's got the Firestone tech box in front of him and then an opening, and Malukas has that tech box and an opening, so it'll be easy for both of those guys to do an in and out.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime there's an opening in the pits, too, is good. So obviously McLaughlin, P1, he's got an easy in, easy out. But you're right, those are huge spots for Malukas and for Palou. I mean, those are probably the next best spots on the racetrack. But got to look down right in front of us, too, with Grosjean. He has a really good spot as well, P3, but really a nice out behind Ericsson.
You go back a little further, and it's going to be interesting for some of these drivers that are, say, from like Pato Award on back. You know, his teammate, Lundgaard, I mean, he's literally coming out of the pit box on a blind corner.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, too, and I got to take that back. That's actually Hauger and Grosjean in those second, third, and fourth spots. Both good spots right there. But, yeah, so one thing about it is, yeah, it's a blind area. You're coming around this corner, so the pit area and the start-finish line, something different that we see from any racetrack. I can't think of any other one that's actually in the corner. The pit spots are in the corner. The start-finish lines were in the corner. So it doesn't happen very often, but the way they reconfigured this track and this facility with the grandstands, you know, it's all in the corner now.
Couple of tracks, we do have guys pitting around a corner in the first couple of pit boxes, but nothing is pronounced as this.
Nothing like this. This is the entire corners of turn 1s and 2. Matter of fact, you look at Scott McLaughlin in the first pit. He's almost looking in the middle of the back straightaway when you look straight out of his car. But then you got the last pit, which we can't see who that last one is from. But he's looking down into turn 1. Just, you know, I mean, it's a big difference. That whole corner is complete pits.
And again, we are under caution for the single car incident involving Felix Rosenqvist in the area around turns 2 and 3. Some fire extinguisher and some fluid from that race car has extended that cleanup just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think they did maybe a small piece of wall repair, and that's one thing great with the safety barriers. You know, all these facilities around our country and the fencing that they have. Man, the crew that install those do such a great job to be able to patch them quickly during events, where we could just, you know, go right on and not take much time and keep it safe for all the drivers.
First race here for you.
First race was 1980, I think it was.
Wow.
So a long time ago. And I'll be honest with you, it was a super, maybe it was 84. Yeah, it was. It was 1984 was my first race there. It was a super modified when they came here. I actually had a rear engine car against the offset super modifieds. They didn't allow wings, so there was no wings. And as a rookie around this place, I was never so happy to blow an engine. I was completely scared to death. The car did not feel good. I was all over the place. I didn't know what I was doing by any stretch of the imagination. And I left here that first year going, I don't know if I ever want to go back to that place. That was the biggest track I had ever been on. I'm used to quarter miles and third miles. And it was without wings on those cars. It was very sketchy around here, not just for myself, but for everybody that year. So the following year, they allowed to put wings on, and that I got the hang of it. I went to work for the Trigueiro brothers at that point, which was a really good team. Actually set on the pole, I think, in 88, won it in 89. I mean, won it in 88, I think, maybe in 89. But anyways, got to love this play. Went from the worst track, I hated it, didn't want to come back, scared to death, to one of my favorites that I won 5 times on.
History goes back to 1964 when A.J. Foyt won the inaugural race here. And listen to this podium. It was A.J. Foyt, Roger McCluskey, and Pardelli Jones, with Pardelli on pole for that race.
How about that? Yeah. And if you look really at some of the old photos, you can't recognize this place whatsoever, because, as I said, the grandstands were on what we call now the back straightaway, where the start-finish line was. We all pitted in front of there. It was really an environment second to none. So much fun to come this race. But the dangerous part with this place, and I know Pancho Carter got hurt here, and a lot of drivers got hurt at this facility. It was, instead of concrete wall, it was Armco barrier, and so a lot of times these INDYCARs would go underneath that Armco, cause a lot of havoc, and we've seen that in our, the safety come way up.
Let's go to DJ.
quite a few drivers are taking this time to be able to make adjustments to their car, Mark. I'm seeing a lot of teams making little minor suspension adjustments. Mainly it looks like to the right rear or to the front left. But what's interesting to me is we're actually seeing no changes out of two cars in particular. Graham Rahal, not altogether surprising. He's running second right now. That car probably feeling pretty good for the Ohio native. And the other one, based off of what you and Davey were talking about a little bit earlier, that being Christian Rasmussen. ECR looking very, very quick here this weekend. I have not seen them make a single change to either car this entire session.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, Davey. When you unload and you unload fast, that really takes a lot of pressure off you and your race team.
Yeah, and I'm going to say especially here, being we haven't been here for so long, there's a lot to learn, and this track's very tricky. But no matter what facility you're at, when you unload good like that, don't have to make any changes, that means you're going to have a really strong weekend. As long as the numbers match, as long as you go out there and all of a sudden the speed's there, the car feels great. I remember, at Texas one year where the very first session I went out and the car was so good, and I go, what can we do to make it faster straightaway speed? They said, we're trimmed out. I go, well, we're done. I mean, there's no sense running around.
Right.
The car was so good.
Yeah, I remember you go back to when Elio won his fourth. I mean, he cut carb day practice early by about 20 minutes, and they wheeled the car back to Gasoline Alley. He got out of the car, and Mike Shake tells a story. We said, okay, what do you want done to the car? He said, don't touch a thing. It's perfect just the way it is.
Yeah, let's go race, right? When you have it, and when you have a car that just so, that you're just one, and then it's just up to the crew doing proper strategies and working together. If there's any small adjustments throughout the event because the track's changing or whether you're in traffic or not. So that is, man, what a feeling. You miss those days because you don't get a lot of them.
Got to imagine that one of the guys that really is, I think, disappointed about losing 15 to 20 minutes worth of track time here because of that incident, especially the way his debut ended a week ago, is Mick Schumacher. I mean, obviously, this is a vastly different thing from anything he's ever driven on before.
Oh, no question. I know his first oval test was at Miami, which is a much easier track than this, and he was saying, wow, I'm not used to going into the corner and not hitting the brake pedal. And so that was something that he had to learn. I mean, that's just, the experience he has in Formula One. Obviously, we know he's a good racing driver. He wouldn't be here to start with. But these ovals, and especially these short ones like this, are going to be a huge challenge for him to really learn. He's probably going to leave here a little bit like I did my first year going, what was that? Now let's hope that he catches on quickly. He's got good teammates to go off of. And obviously Graham, being one of his teammates, being fast right now, still P2 right now, Graham is. So that's what you got to feed off your teammates here.
Let's hear from Felix Rosenqvist.
Well, Felix, seen and released from the INDYCAR Medical Center. Great to see you standing here talking. What happened from your perspective on track?
Lost it in turn 2. I kind of had a little snap in the middle, which was reasonable, and then after I caught that one, it just kind of came again, and I wasn't able to catch it. Super bummed about it. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of work to put it together. I'm not sure exactly the extent of the damage, but it was a pretty big hit, and it was, pretty square in the rear as well. So a lot of damage, obviously. So yeah, really, obviously the worst way you can start a weekend, but yeah, we'll see what we can do if we can recover from here, and hopefully get running at some point here today.
I know that it was early in the session, but from the little bit he had on track, what were the conditions feeling like?
I mean, obviously the track was still greenish, but I thought it felt fine, to be honest. The car felt pretty good. I just, I have to see what happened, really. I just wasn't able to catch it, so it was, end of the day, it's my mistake.
Glad to see you're all right. We'll see you later today.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I always appreciate the drivers having an opportunity to share their thoughts with us, Davey, under a very difficult circumstance.
Very difficult. And as Felix says, he goes, just my fault. But, let me just tell you, on this racetrack especially, in these ovals, it happens so fast, and you have to commit. And every driver in this pit area is going to tell you, you have to commit, and it's a big commitment. And you're going so fast. There's certain times when that car breaks loose, it's beyond recovery. And I think that was the situation when it snapped once. He caught it, but then it just did it again so fast that nobody's hands are quick enough to save him. And so I know he's taking the heat, but obviously that car was a bit too free as well. And the commitment that you have to put in around this place is second to none. So I appreciate it. He's saying that, hey, it's all on me, but if the car wasn't loose, he wouldn't be there as well.
Kiffin Simpson still working to find some speed. I'm not a shill for him. We talked about him a lot at St. Petersburg, but I think it's worth discussing. A top 10 starting position, brought it home in 15th, and as much as anything, I like that old school looking Sunoco sponsorship.
Yeah, how about that? Doesn't that really look good? And we talked about Simpson a lot last year in that Ganassi crew, and Howdy Holmes just mentioned, you got 3 capable drivers of winning. Well, Simpson's one of them, and I really like this kid. He's just calm. He's cool. He's very polite to people. He has 2 of the best teammates that you could ever have in the pit area. He's taken advantage of that with Scott and Alex. I expect good things in that car. How about that car? Doesn't it look fantastic? It's great to have Sunoco be part of our series, obviously, in a big way like that on Kiffin's car. So I hope good things. I'd love to see this kid in victory lane. I honestly would. And not that Chip needs any more wins, but Chip knows how to put these cars together. He wins.
Chip loves winners.
But he loves winners. And I tell you what, I really like Kiffin. We got to know him just a little bit briefly last year at Road America. Gave his family some rides in the 2-seater. And, I think he has what it takes.
I got to give the design teams for the NTT INDYCAR series huge props, because a few years ago it seemed like we had 15 cars that were all blue and white. And this offseason, as the schemes were introduced, and of course, now that regional sponsorships have come into play, which is the way you have to do business these days, I think the ability to wrap these cars and get that turnover much quicker than when they used to have to be painted once upon a time. But some pretty creative liveries on these race cars.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what I love about our series is if you go down through every single car here, it's legitimate, great sponsors that they're doing a really good job with activations, some B2B opportunities, some B2C opportunities. They really do a nice job. And as you said, a lot of times they change from race to race. And back in the day, all we knew how to do was paint these cars. But now with the wraps and the people, most of these teams have their own in-house graphic department that they wrap their own cars. And if you watch these guys go to work on how they don't have one bubble in anything around these very complicated race cars, amazes me. But you're right, man. What a great looking race cars we have this year. Still trying to get used to a few of the schemes, and just as I do, they change it. But the Aero McLaren, still the black and orange, great looking race cars, but hard to differ those 3 apart from.
I remember Detroit several years ago. We were on Belle Isle. That Graham Rahal's team actually had one sponsor on Saturday, another one on Sunday. That's
how about that? Yeah, the very next day. Yeah.
David Malukas has jumped to P1 now, 175.606. So Ward is second quick at a 173.422. Power in the 172 range, along with Ray Hall, McLaughlin, Alex Pillow, sixth fastest. Then Joseph Newgarden, seventh quick at 171 and change. Scott Dixon at a 171 plus. Same for Ferrucci, Kirkwood, Renus VK in the 170 range, 12th fastest. Marcus Armstrong at a 178.16. Then Lundgaard, Grosjean, Ericsson, Siegel, Foster, and Hauger. That's through 18th, and that range runs from 175 down to 167. So Louis Foster at a 167.568, but that's a pretty hefty lap by David Malukas, 175 plus.
Well, no surprise. We talked about the guys that love ovals. Malukas was one of those guys. Remember, him racing, whether it was for Foyt or whoever at St. Louis especially, man, he laid it down the ovals. It seemed like he's really comfortable on the ovals and could get the most out of the cars. And, man, he's proven that to be true here at Phoenix International.
We'll start at 15th and tell you Romain Grosjean's at a 169.496. Then Marcus Ericsson at a 169.436. Nolan Siegel 17th faster. Louis Foster 18th quick. Then we've got Dennis Hauger, Felix Rosenqvist, Kiffin Simpson. Kyle Collette is 22nd fastest. Christian Rasmussen 23rd quick. And then it's Stingray Robb and Mick Schumacher at a 152.895. So we go from 175 down to a 152. So Schumacher is trying to find his way.
Yeah, he's trying to find his way here right now, and he will. It's just this is probably the most difficult situation that he could obviously be in. Still trying to get used to these cars. Didn't get one lap in, not one lap at St. Petersburg. Gets thrown into this oval right now. So just got to have patience with him. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to be cool and collective. He he wants to finish this race and get all the laps in.
Well, again, his pre-race interview was spot on last week before he was introduced to the huge throng of fans there at St. Pete. They said, realistically, what's your goal? And he said, I want to complete every lap. I need to complete every lap. And, of course, that was taken out of his hands. But I think, really, Davey, the same would be true this weekend. I mean, he just needs to complete laps in race conditions.
Especially on these oval racetracks that he's not familiar to. So he just needs to have the same exact mindset going into that race. That was none of his doing last weekend. He was just an innocent bystander, wrong place, wrong time, got taken out. But yes, this is so key and so important for him to be just get that checker flag. I don't care if he's 5, if he's 6 laps. It doesn't matter. Just get that checker flag, make it to the end, make a few pit stops. Which, by the way, he has not made any pit stops in IndyCar series at all. We're completely different than Formula One, where they just change tires only. That's going to be new for him. So he has a lot to learn this weekend.
You can simulate that in testing, and you can simulate that in the shop, but that's a world of difference when you're doing it under race conditions.
Yeah, when it really counts. I mean, every millisecond counts when you're doing it in race conditions. Obviously you're competing. You're competing with somebody on the racetrack, it seems like, at all times in pit lane, and you don't make any mistakes. This pit lane, by the way, where you peel off a pit lane, is just right. It's about halfway down the back front straightaway, which coming off of this turn 4, and then you take the whole turns 1 and 2 on the bottom, then in pit lane, and then it's almost a full lap on pit lane to make a pit stop here. So you definitely go a couple laps down, but you don't want to speed in the pits. You want to make sure you hit your marks. As you said, this is very tough around this complete corner to make sure you see where your pit spot is, or your stall is, and hit it perfectly.
But by the way, speaking of Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing, perhaps nobody a bigger cheerleader for the addition of Jay Fry than Graham Rahal. He says Jay has made a huge difference in the management of that race team.
Well, I think we're seeing it. He's not going to do it overnight, but Jay, he has a lot of experience on the NASCAR side, managing teams and knowing how to put them together. Obviously, he came to the IndyCar series, did a lot of work and a lot of, back when there was a lot of changes within our series, including the aero screen and things that happened. He was part of a lot of that. And then now he's back with a race team, and I think that he really has a lot of, maybe it's what he loves the most. I mean, without asking Jay directly, maybe this is, I know he's with the series, but maybe team management is really what he wants to be doing, and he's back in that role. And Graham has a lot of faith in him, and I'll be honest with you, when somebody has a lot of faith in you, Mark, you're going to go above and beyond to make it right.
I wish I could say that about my driver analyst.
Yeah. I'm working it.
I keep working toward that. Maybe someday you'll trust me. We'll see. I guess you got to know me very early on when I was a young pit reporter and you were driving. That's
awesome.
when you learned not to trust me.
It was awesome, though. I remember those days, Mark, and somebody just mentioned, I think, that we were talking about this race years ago. It was Tim Neiman, actually, that reached out and goes, remember when? And I go, you know what? Those are special days. We were building a lot. There was a lot of, drivers with new opportunities, and man, we had a lot of fun back then. There's no question.
No doubt about it. But I'll tell you, it's fun to look back, but it's always important to look forward. And I think this weekend with this partnership, I got to thank the folks, NASCAR, and certainly Fox Sports, for putting all of this together over the course of this weekend for us to be here with them. I've heard that the ticket sales for tomorrow are just phenomenal. The number of campers here. I mean, there is we got in here at sunup, and there was already energy here.
Yeah, I agree. And you look at the motorhome spaces. There's not one empty one around this entire facility. You look at the camping out behind us, and it is packed. There's a lot of, there's hundreds and if not thousands of campers back there, so that's always a plus. And there's some energy about it. I mean, even PJ Jones lives here, a good friend of mine. Obviously Mint 400 going on this weekend is a little busy, but he goes, man, isn't it cool that all the race drivers, all of his friends are all in one place at the same time? And I think that's really cool. Hopefully that there's a lot of people talking to each other from different series, that the fans get to see their favorites, no matter if it's open wheel or stock car.
Talk about the history here. Al Unser with the most wins, 6 of them here. The first one coming in 1969. And how about Bobby? 11 poles here. The most wins by a team, Team Penske. Their first win came in 1982, and their most recent with Joseph Newgarden last time we were here in 2018.
Yeah, they know how to get the job done here. And speaking of Bobby, I seen a photograph just the other day. today in the 60s where he was one of those victims with the Armco railing, and that car, how he survived it, I'm not really sure, because it was ripped to absolutely, you couldn't even recognize it, but he was okay, thank God. But Bobby was, yeah, I mean, there's certain people, matter of fact, Ari Leindyke, when we were running sub 19 second, I was one of the first ones to get in the 19 second bracket, like a 19.8, and I thought, okay, that's going to be pole track record. I think I was 5th quick that year. Ari Leindyke came out a little bit faster, and I go, going that faster on this racetrack back then just blows me away. They're in the 22nd bracket right now, and it blows me away that we were going that fast back then.
Although it was the late 1990s, I still felt like I had gone back to the 1960s. You talk about Bobby Unser, because after a practice session here, I believe it was either 97 or 98, I had to go back and get an interview with Robbie Unser, and I walked back, and he's standing to the front of the race car with the fire suit pulled down, tied around his waist, 1 foot up on the wheel, smoking a cigarette. I felt like it was like 1969 or something.
He did, you know,
he
Apple
was old school.
Apple definitely didn't fall far from the tree from Robbie and Bobby. There's no question about it. They both were a lot alike. No question about it. Robbie's still doing some racing too. I know that he's still doing some stuff with Speedway Motors, and you know, great family. I love the Hunters. Al, I wish he was here. Al's had some success here as well. Always, you know, when I always look at the Hunters, I always used to tell, you know, Bobby, unfortunately we lost Bobby and Al, but I can tell little Al this, that they really hogged up. They got 9 wins at that 9 Indy 500 wins amongst the Hunters. That one family, man, he kind of hogged up some wins for a lot of other guys, didn't you? You know, I mean, that was just incredible they were able to do that.
Malukas is P1 at 175.608. Then Award at a 174.343. Joseph Newgarden 174.057. Will Power in the 172 range, along with Alexander Rossi, Ray Hall, McLaughlin, Alex Pillow, Nolan Siegel pedaling it pretty quick. He's inside the top 10. Scott Dixon rounds out the top 10 at a 171.788. Then Santino Ferrucci, Marcus Ericsson, Kyle Kirkwood, Regis VK, and Marcus Armstrong. They're all in the 170 range. Rasmussen as well. He's getting a little quicker now after being mired toward the bottom for the first half hour of the session. He's picked up the pace at 176.24. Then it's Kiffin Simpson. And then in the 169 range, it's Lundgaard and Grosjean. Schumacher now is 20th quick. Louis Foster struggling to find speed at a 167.568. Felix Rosenqvist, the lone incident thus far, heavily damaged the race car with contact around 2 and 3. Felix is okay. We talked to him. They've got a lot of work to do to get him ready to qualify later today. He was at 167.250. Kyle Collette at 166.707. And Stingray Rob 25th fastest at 161.684. Some of the trap speeds, Davey. Joseph Newgarden the quickest in turn 1 at a 184.316. Malukas in turn 3 clocked in at 185.840. And in turn 4, this gives you an idea just how different the apex and the banking is for these turns. Fastest turn 4 speed dials in at 170.501. So turn 3, you can go 185.8. Turn 4 is at a 175.01.
Yeah, a lot of drop off through there, and this, you know, it's a tighter corner as we talked about. When you go into turn 1, it's aggressive, it's very tight. You got that banking, and you can feel it. It definitely helps you, and you can exit into turn 2 fairly rapidly. You got to remember when time to get turn 2, you're already up high in the on the racetrack, and then back going low again. So yeah, definitely a lot of scuff there. Where turns 1 and 2, same banking, long rotating corner. Your speeds don't drop near as much down there.
Nolan Siegel's been the workhorse. He's completed 32 laps, and everybody else in the high teens to low 20s.
Yeah. Then that's you know, Nolan needs to do that. We talked about him. Just get lap time in, get confident. I'm watching a lot of cars leaving pit lane, Ferrucci right now, and how they merge on, Mark. You got to remember, they merge on going down into that turn 1, and it gets tight down there. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see green flag stops, and even in this practice right now, it's a little bit give and take.
One spotter handle this, or are you going to want 2 out there?
No, I think one spotter. Now, one thing that's happened that's a little more difficult right now is we are in a corner. We're down in turn 2, basically, and so turn 4 is a long ways away, where usually you're on the straightaways and you can see more of the track a little bit easier. The spotters, I think, are going to be down into that turn I think they go into the turn.
That's three
one.
over there.
I'm sorry,
That's
turn
three over
three.
there.
Yeah, turn three. Gosh, dang, it's car.
You're not modified anymore.
Yeah,
That's turn three over there.
Yeah, turn three, and they have a better opportunity. But down in turns 1 and 2, it's a long ways away. They're going to be using their binoculars, making sure that they keep eye on these guys. But one spotter should cover it.
A couple of our friends from MRN going to be with us, and look forward to having Alex Hayden with us for the second week in a row. Did a great job in turn number 10 at St. Petersburg a week ago. We'll put him on the opposite end of us, and he'll be sorting out all of that action down there between turns 1 and 2. And Chris Wilder, a little bit later on this weekend, going to join DJ and Alex Wolf in the pits. And we were talking before we went on, Davey, that, you know, once upon a time there was this us against them mentality, and it even kind of trickled over to the broadcasting side. But we've worked with the folks from PRN, working with the folks from MRN this weekend, and but we're all happy to be in the same boat, rowing the oar in the same direction.
Well, it's taken years for people to come to that understanding that we're all one big happy family. It doesn't matter what kind of race car you're in, what, you know, fans, a race fan, whether it's a dirt track or a paved track. It's not one against the other. Matter of fact, it kind of hurt a lot of, I think, people's careers. When I was coming up, when the NASCAR Craftsman trucks first came in, I thought, I'm interested, I want to go do that. And the guy that really kind of brought that series around looked at me and goes, you're an open wheel guy, you can't drive stock cars. Well, tell Kyle Larson and Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon that they're open wheel guys, right? I mean, things have just changed. They had us all pinned that you could only do, you're a stock car guy, you're an open wheel guy, that's it, you can't do anything other. Well, that's no different than right here. We could all be one happy family. NASCAR's here, INDYCAR's here, the fans are loving it, we're loving it, and I think I'd love to see more to come.
Talk about the battle for the engine manufacturers championship. The pendulum always swings one way or the other, and of course Chevrolet got off to a pretty good start. So did Honda. Right now the gap stands at 87-76.
Yeah, interesting, because you know, Chevrolet was still able to pull off you know, second and third with Alex in that win with the Honda power. So I have a, you know, last year Honda really put it to Chevrolet, honestly. I mean, they really dominated, obviously being part of that Ganassi and Pillow run. But I think Chevrolet, they didn't like that. They did their homework over the winter, and they're going to come back, and they want to try to win that again.
I go back to that everybody rowing the boat in the same direction. You go back a couple of years ago with the research and development that went into the hybrid, and as much as they want to win the Indy 500 and they want to win the championship, they did a tremendous amount of work collectively with INDYCAR and others to make that happen.
Yeah, right, wrong, or indifferent on the hybrids. The people feel all different about that, but you know what? If it wasn't for those two manufacturers working very tightly together, you know, that would have been a delay. It wouldn't have made our series look good. So hats off to both of them. It's the same for everybody. So it was good to see, back to say, collaboration of everybody, and it shows that they can do it on the manufacturer side as well.
And you know, some of the best news that came just prior to the arrival in St. Petersburg is the fact that, you know, there was some concern as to what Honda's future would be, but both Honda and Chevy are committed to the series now for the foreseeable future.
Oh yeah, and that really good news, because we've, you know, Chevrolet I think has had a long-term commitment, but Honda's been in, they've been out, they're going to go Formula One, they're not. I mean, it's just kind of been a little bit unstable, to be honest with you. So them being able to commit to our series and know that they're going to be here long-term and really push the rope the same way to continue INDYCAR series. You know, I know we're all here as one big happy family. I still feel that INDYCAR, the drivers that we have, are just unbelievable to be able to pull off, you know, the G-forces and the speeds that these cars generate. And I still say they're the best drivers in the world, but it's good to see everybody working together.
Yeah, that level of commitment with their renewed commitment to the series, I think, speaks well of the direction and what Honda feels like that direction is and how positive it is moving forward. 6 minutes remaining in the session. David Malukas continues to set the fast lap at a 175.605. Pato Award second quick at a 174.462. Then Joseph Newgarden at 174.057. In the 173 range, Alexander Rossi, Scott McLaughlin, Kyle Kirkwood, Nolan Siegel and Marcus Ericsson. And we get to Scott Dixon, 9th fastest. He's at 172.965. Santino Ferrucci, he's worked his way into the top 10 at 172.867. Then Lundgaard, Power, Rahal, Palou, Armstrong, all inside the top 15. 16th, Louis Foster at a 171. Then we've got Rinus VK, who just jumped in front of Louis Foster. So 18th fastest is Rasmussen at a 176.24. Simpson, Grosjean struggling to find some speed, along with Mick Schumacher, Dennis Hauger, Felix Rosenqvist, Kyle Collette, and Stingray Robb. Davey, I'm sure you're not surprised at all at the fact that some of the rookies are at the bottom of timing and scoring, and they're trying to find their pace here. They're all, let's see, Schumacher's 21st, Hauger's 22nd, and Collette is 24. Yeah,
and that's back to what we continue to talk about. The commitment here is so high, and rookies, they don't want to go over the line. They don't want to crash their car. They know that they're challenging each other. They want to get every single lap in, and you just have to do it. I mean, literally tenths of a second at a time as we see him go too wide down to turn 2 right there, which was pretty exciting. I think that was Flo on the outside of Collette. But, they just got to take it easy, one step at a time. Don't go, unfortunately, Rosenqvist is our only, casualty today, which sucks. But nobody else wants to be in that situation.
We mentioned that pass by Alex Palou, and some of the post-test interviews, Will Power, David Malukas were downright pessimistic about the ability to race side by side and find a second groove here. Again, there's going to be highline practice, and they're going to try to rubber in a second groove. But the one driver who was not concerned at all and felt like it would be okay, Alex Palou.
Alex Palou, he'll find where he needs to go, and that was what he just did down there. You might as well learn it. I know clean air is important. I think the clean air is more important than actually finding the other line, because there's plenty of lines around here. I don't foresee a bunch of marbles getting built up around this track, because you can take multiple lines around here. I do feel like as much traffic is going to happen, cars are going to have to go to that second lane. They're going to have to be able to maneuver around the slower cars in front of them. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I think they change. Sometimes when they make changes on racetrack, it's good for one series and not so much the other, but we're just going to have to play it out and see what happens.
Tough stretch for these race teams and their crews. I mean, for those that bemoaned the fact for years that we would race at St. Petersburg and then have 3-4 weeks off, whatever the case may be, those days are gone, because we left St. Pete, come here to Phoenix next weekend, looking forward to that great event at Arlington and all the excitement that's surrounding that, and then you do have a week off before you go to Barber. Then you'll get a chance to kind of push the reset button. A couple of weeks into April, we go to Long Beach before we set the stage for the for all the festivities of the month of May at the Speedway. Yeah,
these first races are brutal, Mark. I mean, when you go, like you say, you had to get to St. Pete, and don't forget, they tested here the week before, then they went to Sebring the week before that.
Let's go to DJ.
Down on pit lane with David Malukas. Out of the car already, David. I think it's pretty safe to say you're feeling good right now.
Yeah, we're feeling very good. I mean, it's a bit hard right now with the way the track temp is. It's going to be so different to qualifying. Thankfully, we had the tester a few weeks ago, which I think the car is actually going to be set up in that window. We had to make a few adjustments for this session just because of how cold it is. But outside of that, I mean, base car is awesome, and loving this team over here at Team Penske and the Verizon car. Things are really good, man. I'm very, very happy. Even St. Pete, even with our little issue that we had with the tire, I mean, overall, it was still a fantastic weekend, and we're going to carry that momentum for the rest of the season.
Mark, I'm no mind reader, but that is a very happy, very relaxed David Malukas.
That pretty much describes David Malukas to a T.
Yeah, it really does.
Relaxed and happy.
Yeah, another good kid. A kid that, we've seen him on the rise in Indy Next. He had the opportunity to go into INDYCAR right off the bat, gets out of racing a bicycle accident, actually, and breaking his wrist pretty massively, Mark. And
still taped up.
Yeah, still, it was a big injury, and McLaren actually released him out of his contract. And at that point, he'd go from winning Indy Next, getting a contract with Arrow McLaren, going, you're on top of the world, and the next thing you're out of a ride with a broken wrist, and don't know if you'll ever have that opportunity again. But then next thing you know, Mr. Penske gives him that call, aligns him with AJ Foyt Racing, which he ran a year there, and then next thing you know, he's in that Verizon car.
Yeah, that certainly shows a lot of confidence, and understandably so. If you look back to the history of Team Penske, they've not swung and missed too often.
No, but not very often at all. You look at, everybody that's driven for Penske, and I don't know if there's ever been anybody that's driven for him that hasn't won a race.
Well, I still go back to that period of time when Elio was having the legal trouble and they were looking for somebody to fill that seat. Will didn't have any. Will Power didn't have anything going at the time, and he said at the time it was Rick Mears that kind of convinced him to take that ride because, I mean, Rick told him, he said, look, a part-time ride with them might be better than a lot of full-time rides, and so it all worked out, and he eventually landed with that race team, and the rest is history.
Look at that. Speaking of history, look at the history books that he's changed being in that race team.
Especially on qualifying.
Yeah, so that's why I'm still a little dumbfounded that he's still not there, but that's okay. They got, like I say, we talked about Lucas, a young kid, good, fired up, ready to go, obviously fast. I'm glad to see Will found a seat in the series, which he'll be here for years to come as well. So two greats.
I think we've seen it over the years, though. This is kind of a template, and sometimes they do this in other sports with high-profile members of a team. Sometimes the people that run those organizations feel like it's better to make that move now than to wish you would have made it a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years before. And we'll see if that thought process carries out and is successful here. Let's go to Alex.
Pat O'Ward debriefing with the team, and what were you guys talking about with how it felt that session?
Yeah, we feel good. We ended there P2, so I'm pretty happy going into qualifying. I think we've got a great race car.
First time here for a race weekend in the INDYCAR. What are your impressions of this facility and this track?
I really like it. I really enjoyed driving around this place. It's a bit of a mix of Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, and Milwaukee. So I think it's going to be a fun weekend for us.
Look forward to seeing what you can do in qualifying.
Thank you.
And that qualifying will come your way at noon local time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have complete coverage of that. And then the final session a little bit later on today at 2:30 local time and 4:30 Eastern before we go racing tomorrow. So, again, it stacks up like this. David Malukas, 175.605. Paddle Award at a 174.461. Then it's Joseph Newgarden in the 174 range. He was third fastest. Christian Rasmussen found some speed toward the end of this session. 173.967, DJ.
Yeah, Christian Rasmussen out of the car. Obviously, you guys were the big story with ECR in the test. How's it feeling today?
Yeah, I think we have good cars, we felt good at the test, and it seems like it's continuing through at least P1. We were a little bit deep to start, but it's just hard to get a lap in, right? So once we got a lap put together, obviously both cars are up there. So it's exciting weekend ahead, and yeah, hopefully we can qualify towards the front in qualifying.
How much is the temperature going to change the setup going into that qualifying with the heat of the day?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, once we get into the day, it's not going to be crazy hot today, so I think it's going to be very similar to what we had at the test here.
All right, that's Christian Rasmussen, guys.
Yeah, and a good day so far, Davey, for that ECR team because Rasmussen fourth fastest, Alexander Rossi fastest in the test a few weeks ago. He's sixth fastest at 173.551 with Will Power sandwiched in between.
Yeah, really good numbers. And as Pato was able to tell us, and actually Malukas, both saying, well, track conditions are quite a bit different than when we tested, but they're still in the window. They still feel good about it. But those little changes in temperature, ambient, and track does make a huge difference, as we talked about before in these cars, and that's probably just a little bit what they're feeling in ECR.
Regis VK was eighth fastest at 173.498. Kyle Kirkwood ninth quickest. The Nolan Siegel at a 173.415. And Davey, look at Mick Schumacher, 11th fastest, 173.264. He said it many times. He said, look, I understand why I have to be called a rookie, but I don't consider myself one.
Yeah, right. That's right. Well, and until he gets these ovals, but I'll tell you what, that's impressive, and I think what they're doing is just giving him a solid car. I think Graham has a really solid car. Watching him, he was the first guy to really get up to speed and with confidence, and the car looked stable. Didn't see him move around. He was right in the line, and unfortunately, I didn't get some good eyes on Mick as he's going around there, but man, what a great run for him in this first practice set.
First practice was absolutely interesting then. Shame for Felix Rosenqvist. We'll hope that he's going to be okay and get back out in time for qualifying, which comes up in a few hours' time here on JB Motorsports. Thanks for your company. We'll be back in a few hours' time then here from Phoenix, ready for qualifications and the second practice session ahead of the O'Reillys practice and qualifying later on tonight. Thanks for your company. We'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.